Hi everybody, my name is Peter Nelias from TENDINOPATHYREHAB Rehab in Monash University. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers' rehabilitation from his Achilles tendon rupture. So people might have seen the documentary Enigma, which is now on Netflix, and it's a really interesting documentary. And being someone who specializes in Achilles tendon rupture is really interesting to watch, particularly from a point of view of his rehabilitation. And I want to make this video really for patients and people who have suffered Achilles tendon rupture and might watch that and think, wow, this is really, what I should be potentially doing as well. And I think particularly there were some things that were really good within Aaron Rodgers' rehabilitation, but having a look at it on Netflix, there are also some things that I wouldn't recommend you do. Okay, so watch this video and I'll talk about some of the good things and some of the not so good things that, in my opinion, that were part of his rehabilitation. So let's start with some of the good things. So Aaron Rodgers, and I think this is probably one of the most fundamental parts of Achilles tendon rehabilitation. It is a long process and it is an exhausting process. And he was able to, just really have the sort of enthusiasm and the motivation to do what's required to get better. Because it is a daily grind when you're recovering from an Achilles tendon problem. You've got to do exercise every day. You've got to think about your recovery. You've got to think about your diet, what you're eating. You've got to think about all these factors. And I think, obviously he's got the resources. He's an elite athlete. He's got the team around him. But that was a really, positive part of his rehabilitation. Now I'm going to talk about the things that I think I wouldn't necessarily agree with as part of Aaron Rodgers' rehabilitation. Now, I want to just caveat this by saying that I don't know what really happened behind the scenes. So I'm just forming opinions based on what I saw on the Netflix documentary and also what I read about in the media, because people would remember it was a huge story in getting back in record time. So this is it's quite possible that there are things that they were doing that I hadn't, that were not shown in the documentary. But I guess the way that I'd summarize his rehabilitation is what we see in what we see as a trend in the way that Achilles tendon ruptures are rehabilitated these days, and that is to accelerate people in terms of their weight bearing, getting up on their feet and walking, as well as accelerate things like walking. Okay. So that's the types of things that we saw, that you see in Enigma. You see him, I think it was a few weeks down the track, and he goes to a training session and he's walking around with just this, not even a boot, just a cast or some sort of very, I shouldn't say unsupportive, but less supportive sort of device than would be recommended at that time. So that clearly indicates that the goal as part of that rehabilitation was to accelerate the walking components of it. So I've talked before, and I'll put the link in the description below, about what really is accelerated rehab. Now, what it is to most people is exactly that: accelerating the walking, accelerating people back to running, accelerating people back to sport. What I think accelerated rehab should be is different to that. And this is what we didn't see in the Aaron Rodgers documentary. Accelerated rehabilitation should be making every single attempt possible to strengthen, to load, and to stimulate adaptation in the Achilles tendon, in the healing Achilles tendon, in the first 12 weeks post-injury. And that is very different to walking and weight bearing. In fact, most of the time, what I'm trying to do with people is to pull them back from the walking and weight bearing and do more of what I refer to as accelerated rehab, and that is loading the tendon to allow the tendon to become stronger. So that's loading the tendon in safe positions. And that, to me, is what we should be referring to as accelerated rehab. And that's the sort of stuff that I was hoping to see when I was watching the Aaron Rodgers documentary. Now, again, he might have been doing all this stuff behind the scenes, where they've had him in Smith machines, even from 3 weeks, doing loading of the Achilles tendon that is safe. In safe positions, but that wasn't the part that was shown in terms of accelerated rehab. There was a lot of passive treatments. There was a lot of accelerated walking. Passive treatments are things like hands-on work and massage and things like that. So that's sort of my quick review, I guess, of that rehabilitation. So look, if you've got any questions about that, or if you know anyone that knows any more about the rehabilitation, as I said, I could be completely wrong about what they actually did behind the scenes. I'd love to hear from you. Please put a comment in the comment section below. But really, the reason I wanted to make this video is just if you're thinking, you've got an Achilles tendon rupture, what is the best thing for you to do? It's probably not accelerating your walking, but it probably is accelerating your safe loading during that initial 12 weeks of rehabilitation, okay? If you've got any questions about what that exactly means, please drop a comment below or just send me an email. Thanks very much. See you next time.